Me 29M with my GF 27F together 4 years. She was our pet and I'm thinking about leaving. Important announcement. Before we begin with today's stories, I have some bad news. Sadly, I have to inform you that this channel has been demonetized because of sexual content. Because of production costs, I'm going to stop posting videos on this channel in a few days. If you enjoyed my content, I have a second channel where I'll continue posting daily videos. Highly recommend checking it out. Link to my new channel is in the description. Thank you for your support so far and the support you're providing to the community in the comments. Without further ado, enjoy the video. I realize right up front that I'm going to come across as an asshole and I will probably get lots of hate for this, but I'm looking for all points of view. Also, this is going to be very long because I just don't know what to leave out, and honestly I need to vent some. Here is the story. A year ago, actually a year and a month ago, my GF was raped as she was leaving work. Thankfully she was not killed, however her attacker did threaten her with a knife. Fortunately the store she works at had cameras in the parking lot, and between them getting video of the attack and the bank across the street getting the attacker's car on camera, the police were able to catch him within a day. Between the video and DNA testing he did not even contest, he just pleaded guilty in exchange for not receiving the max since there were aggravating circumstances. The knife. The judge gave him a 20-year sentence, and with time for good behavior he can be out in about 10 years. Give or take. I tell you all of that to make it clear that her attacker is no longer a threat. She doesn't have to fear him coming back for her at least for 10 years or so. Obviously this was a very traumatic event in her life, and while I was not a victim per se, it was also very traumatic for me as well. I can't imagine what she has gone through, and I don't compare my situation to her at all, but I have had severe bouts of depression because I couldn't protect her, and knowing someone else was harming her sometimes was almost more than I could handle. Right after the incident she did not want to see me. I get that. It hurt, but I understood. Her parents picked her up from the hospital and I did not see or hear from her for a week. Which I sort of get, but I think I could have gotten a text or something just saying she was okay. Finally a week and her sister calls me and lets me know that she is staying with her parents and she will be calling me in a couple of days. She never called me. Instead I once again get a text from her sister saying she would like me to come over for a few minutes so we can talk. I get up and go over and am greeted at the door by her mother, who very calmly and very coldly starts laying out to me how I am to act and what I am to say. I am further instructed to not attempt to make any physical contact with her, as in hug or anything. Okay. Again, I get it. Major trauma. I'm sure they have been coached by therapist counselors or something in what to say and do around her, so I play along. I walk in and she is sitting on a chair with her dad standing next to her and her sister sitting on the couch. As I walk in the room, the sister starts talking and telling me that my GF wants me to know that she is okay, but obviously she has been traumatized and appreciates my understanding in her recovery. She never said one single word to me and barely looked at me again. This was right after the event and I'm understanding that this is how it has to be, but honest to God, that entire conversation was just awkward as hell. I leave, go home and attempt to focus on how I can help her. I start Googling how to deal with a rape survivor and what I can expect. She starts going to therapy initially 2 times a week, then after 2 months it goes down to 1 day a week. In the meantime she finally makes contact with me and asks to meet at a coffee shop. I get there and she is already there and waiting. At this point in time they had her so medicated that I was dealing with a zombie for the most part. There was no emotion and she was very methodical in her speech. Basically she wanted to get together that day to tell me that she couldn't go out with me for a while until she got past some issues she was dealing with. Of course I told her I understood. This was almost a month after the attack and this was our first conversation by ourselves, so I was already living under this assumption. I told her I would be there for her and that whatever she needed, whether that be space or a shoulder to cry on or anything, I was there for her. I started to tell her that I loved her and she stopped me. She told me that right now she didn't want to hear that and that I had to respect her wishes. I was once again a little hurt and frankly surprised, but I said whatever she wanted. She starts texting me the next day, little things, nothing important, but I think it is a big step in getting back to where we were. This goes on for another month and a half. I finally ask her at the month and a half mark if we could meet for dinner. She didn't reply for 2 days and then said that she had to wait for to talk to her therapist. Finally she agrees to this but sets the date for another month away. Now mind you, this is almost 4 months after the attack and so far I've had 1 physical conversation with her in person and 1 bizarre conversation with her and her family. Oh yeah, I need to mention this. I am not being updated on her progress by anyone. Granted, I realize that I am not officially family nor am I entitled to anything, but it would have been nice to just get a text or call or something from someone telling me that she was doing good in therapy or was not, or anything. We go out to eat at a small bistro that we ate at all of the time. I met her there and I was waiting for her to show up. After sitting for a half hour waiting, I text to see what was up. I just get a text of on my way. She finally arrives and sits down. I ask her how she has been and she snapped at me and told me to not ask her personal questions. We ate and after dinner I wanted to just sit and talk because I missed the person I had talked to almost every day for the previous 3 years. But when she was done eating she said that she was ready to go home. I asked her if she could stay for just a few minutes to talk, but I could see that she was becoming physically anxious and I did not want to upset her, so I said that I loved her and missed her. She just walked away. She goes back to texting me the next day like nothing had been wrong. We actually start to see each other once a week for lunch and she is getting more and more comfortable with being out, so she sits and talks a while. She has also started a new job which she tells me about. This goes on for another 4 months. I'm happy to see her and all, but honestly I'm very lonely and we have not even so much as held hands. Then one day she doesn't show up for lunch. I text to see if she is okay. No reply. I call her parents to see if they know where she is and to make sure she is okay. I got the runaround from them and by this time I am starting to get upset because I don't want to know where she was at or anything. I just wanted to know if she was okay after actually saying that. Mom says, yes, she is okay, but don't expect to hear from her for a while. Well, that makes me start to thinking she has had a relapse and is in the hospital. But what can I do? All I do is go home and try and take my mind off of it. 2 weeks pass with nothing from anybody. I'm trying my best to be reasonable here, but basically I call her sister and ask if she is still alive or what. She knew I was getting frustrated, so she apologizes, but that her sister told them to specifically not let me talk to her. At this point I break down. I don't know what I've done wrong here. I have not pushed her. I have not tried to get her to be with me in any way other than to just talk to me, and even then I have had very generic conversations so as to not upset her. I then get a text from her asking if I would meet with her at an address I wasn't familiar with, but once I looked it up I determined this was a therapist office. I am told be there at 4, which meant I had to leave work early to get there. I check in at the front desk and I'm told that the therapist wants to speak to me alone for a few minutes. She comes in and I now know where the parents were getting this from, because after formally greeting me she then started to provide me with a list of do's and don'ts. She then told me that my GF wanted to speak to me and had something to tell me. I go in and she is sitting on one chair and I am instructed to sit in the other. She has a box of tissues and has been crying. The therapist tells me that I am here because my GF has something to tell me and that she wanted the safety of therapist office to feel safe. She then proceeds to tell me that the reason she did not meet me for lunch that day is because she was with another guy, somebody from her new job, and that they had been intimate with each other. She might as well have taken a gun out and shot me. It couldn't have hurt any more. I just drop my head and begin to cry. The therapist then pipes in with some logic about her taking back her sexuality since she was attacked and how this wasn't cheating in the same sense of cheating. My GF then proceeds to tell me that she does not want to lose me and that she is just very fucked up in the head and that it was a one-time thing and blah blah blah. I feel very trapped at that moment. I felt like I was ganged up on, and the more I set the matter I finally just said to her, you haven't so much as held my hand in the past half year, yet you can go fuck some guy you met at work. While I sit like a jackass waiting for my junior high like date. This of course caused her to go into hysterics and the therapist asked me to leave. I apologized and told her to text me if she wants to keep working this out. I get that text later that day. Now she is all chatty and shit, telling me that this was the worst mistake of her life and please talk to her. I tell her that I don't know if I can go on with this but agree to meet her. I flat out tell her right up front when I see her that for me to even consider going forward with this that she has to cut this other guy off, period. She tells me that is impossible because they work together and I tell her that I'm sorry but I won't even consider it if she is going to see this guy every day. She decides to find another job, and after talking with my sister, who I have told everything to, she said that while it is not common, some women do attempt to have sex after being attacked so that they feel like they have power again. Now why I am the one who she did this with I have no idea, but I know I feel like I am being punished for something I did not even do. She changes jobs and we go back to our lunches, and I do this twice when I tell her that I am getting a little tired of just meeting for lunch and doing nothing else, so she agrees to come over to watch TV with me. That has been it up until tonight. Tonight she came over and we watched 2 movies and ate pizza. During the second movie I tried to give her a kiss, nothing more. Just a fucking kiss. She backs away as though I was a cross and she was a vampire and tells me she is not ready for that yet. Okay. Not my finest moment here, I admit, but I tell her that it's been a fucking year and a month and I have not tried one goddamn thing with her or forced her into anything, and yet she willingly fucked some other guy months ago, but here I am still waiting to hold hands. She of course starts crying, but this time I'm not as fast to apologize. I do apologize for the tone of my voice and tell her that I would never try and force her to do anything against her will, but honestly I feel like I have been kept on the outside. I've been cheated on. I don't give two shits what they call it. She willingly had unprotected sex with someone else and I feel like I have done everything to try and be a supportive BF. I tell her that honestly I don't want her to text me until I decide what I'm going to do. I don't want to be unfair to her, but by the same token a year is a long time and we are really no closer to being back to normal than we were 6 months ago, and I have no idea how long this will go on. Now here is the part where if you didn't think I was asshole before, you will now. I'm just tired of not having sex. Look, I certainly understood not trying anything right afterwards and even months afterwards, but it's been over a year and we're not even holding hands, and frankly the fact that she has been with someone else since this incident is killing me inside. So I told her that I am going to think things through and promise to talk with her next week sometime, but as it stands tonight I think I'm done. I love her. I hate the motherfucker who ruined both of our lives. I know this isn't her fault and I hate that I feel like shit. No matter what I do, if I stay I'm going to be resentful, and even if she comes over tomorrow and has sex with me it will feel like either pity sex or desperation sex, but I know ending this will be punishing her for something that isn't her fault either. Advice? My god, this is way too long. Redditor's reactions update after. Redditor 1. Your GF you knew? She's gone, dude. She may find her way back. But not for you. And not now. Move on. You've given her time. And unfortunately the therapist doesn't appear to be helpful to you and her. Maybe she's good one-on-one. So you shouldn't anticipate any big improvements. Ultimately this trauma has changed her personality. And it's okay if this new person isn't someone who you are compatible with. You tried, dude. Lots of relationships don't survive certain events. A miscarriage or abortion is another similar one. Maybe there are resources from those sorts of events that could also speak to your current situation. Redditor follow-up. Agreed. I don't think you are in a shoal at all. I think you have tried your hardest, and honestly the trauma of being our ped seems to have made her feel differently about you. I'm certainly not a counselor, but I am not sure I like the way they glossed over her cheating on you as some sort of taking her life back. Maybe it is, but that forever stains your relationship. You have hung in there a lot longer than I could have. I would have been done after I was told I was cheated on. She didn't have to do that, and from what you have said it doesn't seem like she still feels the same about you. It's like she wants the normalcy and security of you being around, but you aren't her BF anymore. At least you tried as hard as you could. Don't beat yourself up. Redditor 2. 1. You're not leaving your girlfriend. She's already left you, and neither of you have admitted it yet. Let it go and move forward. 2. Report that therapist to whatever licensing board is relevant. Tell them you basically heard them encourage a RP victim to have random unprotected SX, and the other details of that session. I think this person is ducking your girlfriend up more than the RP did. Redditor follow up. When I was RPed, my therapist encouraged me to get intimate with my boyfriend. Not random people. He wanted me to stop associating RP with SX, because it's not. I needed a healthy outlet for that. He also told my boyfriend what to do and what not to do, but not to withhold affection or be afraid of it, because I needed that more than I thought. I'm not saying he pushed me, but after a year it doesn't sound like this therapist has really helped her. Maybe with public outings and going to work, but her boyfriend was a part of her life, too, and no one gave him much consideration. Her romantic life was just as important to her recovery. Redditor 3. I read the title and jump to the conclusion, what an asshole, until I read the whole post. Op, you're not in a shoal. You should not feel guilty for wanting to break up. Honestly, you don't even have a relationship anymore to break up from. I think the two of you will do better on your own, and you deserve to have a meaningful emotional and physical relationship. It's easy to say but hard to do, but don't feel guilty. You've given it your all and now it's time to move on. Good luck. Redditor follow up. Same here. I was ready to think he was an insensitive jerk, but no. Even a year of the first alienating treatment would have been grounds for just letting go for me, let alone cheating. He has endured a year of celibacy and infidelity and being kept in the dark for this girl. He can't be expected to put his life on hold anymore. It sucks, and it's awful, and I feel so bad for her, but at some point, she has to be held responsible for her actions too. I've never been in that situation, so maybe I don't know, but I really hope I wouldn't treat someone I love that way. Update, me 29M with my GF27F together 4 years. She was our pet and I'm thinking about leaving. First let me say that when I wrote my first post I was obviously in a very bad place. That night's incident was very fresh on my mind and the pain I was feeling at that moment was more than I could handle. I typed that out, which was cathartic to me, then decided to crawl into a bottle of Jim Beam. I called in sick yesterday from work, which was not a lie as I had the hangover from hell and spent time alternating vomiting and laying with an ice bag on my head. I finally opened up Reddit last night and to say that I was overwhelmed would be a massive understatement. I could not believe the number of messages I had in my inbox. I lost count to be honest with you, but it was way in excess of 1K. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. There were so many people who opened up to me about their own experience either being the victim or being the SO of a victim. Each of your stories touched me more than I could say. One in particular got to me and I'm not going to lie, I sat at my keyboard and cried for 20 minutes reading his story. It was so eerily similar to mine that it was as if it was happening to me all over again. However, this was written from an older gentleman who went through virtually the same thing and had to make similar choices. Thank you, sir. I won't share any details since that was sent to me in confidence, but you truly touched me. That all being said, here I am today. Although universally I was told I was not in a shoal and not in the wrong, it still doesn't feel right. I feel like an absolute failure and that if I would have just been more assertive early on in the process that we could have changed things. I don't think I made it clear enough how much I loved and still love her. Letting this relationship go is like saying I have to lose an arm. I haven't eaten any solid food since Sunday night. I know I have to quit drinking. Yes, I called into work again today, but right now feeling numb is better than what I feel like I have to do. Before I go over my intentions, I do want to clear up a couple of things. As I said, I wrote that while I was still very upset and hurt, so I think I was probably either not clear enough or maybe painted a couple of people in a bad light. First, to her parents. Yes, I've known her parents since 3 weeks into our relationship. They have never been anything but kind to me and we have eaten at their house twice a month since we have been together. My family has always celebrated Christmas on Christmas Eve, so I have spent 3 of the past 4 Christmases at her house with them. I do not fault or blame them. Their child was brutalized and traumatized, so they circled the wagon around her, which while I do not have any kids, I certainly understand that she was top priority to them. Her dad has been as hurt as anyone by this and I have been heartbroken to see this giant of a man, he's honest to God 6 feet 6 inches tall, broken like this. Her sister has honestly been my lifeline. She has talked with me and has always tried to be as open as she can with me. Yes, they knew about the cheating and that is why I got the runaround. No, they did not support her decision to do this, however they did not want to be involved other than be there for her. Second, her therapist might be incompetent. I have no way to judge that. However, in rereading what I typed, I think I made it come out worse than it really was. She did not try and excuse what she did, nor did she try and justify it, like I implied. After a few seconds of awkward silence that was only interrupted by my crying, she said that some women do that. Also, I did read where some people thought it was the therapist who recommended she do this, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. My GF told her in therapy what she had done and she is the one who convinced my GF to tell me. They both agreed to do it there so she felt safe. I just wanted to clear those 2 things up because I did not do either of them any justice. My GF was my best friend. I confided in her for everything. I have some work associates that I am friendly with, but I am hundreds of miles from where I grew up and all of my friends are there and either are married or very career driven, so I don't have what you would call a real support network. My sister has been there for me to a point, but there is a real complication to that even. My GF and my sister are best friends. In fact, it's how I met my GF. So while my sister loves me and wants what's best for me, she is also very sympathetic to her friend and doesn't want me to do anything to hurt either of us. She does not support her in the cheating but has tried to basically smooth that over. She does not know though that my GF and myself have not been together sexually since the RP. Honestly, that is none of her business, and I think she would be really disgusted with me if I let her think that this even had anything to do with it. My GF has been blowing up my phone with texts since Sunday night. She is saying everything that I have wanted her to say since about a month after the RP. I've gotten more I love yous in the past day than I have in the past year. I've only responded twice to her. So she does know I'm reading them. That is making the next part very hard to do. I came to the decision last night early this morning that for my own mental well-being I can't do this anymore. Believe me when I say that I know what a failure it is and how horrible it makes me feel. So here is my plan. I know it is chicken-esset on my part, but I have typed a letter and I am going to send it to her therapist along with a note to the therapist explaining what to do for my GF to read in her office. That way there is immediate support for her. I don't want her to be any more abandoned than what I'm going to be doing. That is heartbreaking to type BTW. When she goes for her appointment Friday morning, I will then send emails to her parents and a text to her sister informing them of what is happening so that way they can be there for her when she gets out. Here is word for word the letter I have written her. The only thing that is different is that I am no using her or her therapist real names here. Please read it and let me know if I am out of line or if I am too cruel or if this will trigger any type of mental trauma related to her RP. I have zero intention of inflicting any more pain than what is normal with a breakup. Dear Sarah, I know that this is not the best way of doing this, but honestly if I had to look you in the eyes I know I could not go through with this. I have loved you since the first month we have been together, and the first 3 years of our relationship were the best 3 years of my life. You were my everything, and I know that we had both talked about marriage a lot, and I know and believe with all of my heart that we were going to be married. Nothing would have made me any more happy or proud than to be called your husband. I don't know how to say this because every fiber of my being does not want to say this, but for my own mental health going forward I have to let you go. Believe me when I say that decision did not come easily to me, nor can I say that it is not heartbreaking on my end. I have always and still love you, but I can't be with you anymore. You need to heal, and you need to be able to 100% focus on you while you are healing, and having to worry about me and my feelings is only getting in the way of your healing. I will always hate the bastard who did this to you. He has ruined so many lives that life in prison seems a lot more appropriate than what he got. But I don't get to make that call. I know holding on to hate is not healthy, but he has ruined my life as well as yours. I know you are going to hate me for this. I don't blame you at all. I know that you feel abandoned, but please understand I have done everything in my power to be there for you. I wanted to be more involved in your healing, but for whatever reason I was somewhat excluded from being a significant part of your inner circle. This has left me feeling very lonely and alienated from you and your family. I wanted nothing but the best for you and wanted to be there for you, and I hope I was whenever you would let me. I won't lie, you seeking comfort in the arms of another while still to this day denying me any affection has weighed very heavily on me. I did then and I do now forgive you, but forgiving does not take away the soul-crushing pain that comes along with that. I understand to a point why you might have done it. I don't agree with it and I never will, but I maybe see why. However, that has nothing to do with the fact that we are 1 year and a month past your incident and you still treat me as though I did something wrong or will do something wrong to you. When you withdrew the other night from my attempt at a kiss, I knew then that you were still in need of healing, and I have no idea how long that will be. But I can't put my life on hold indefinitely, which is where we are still. I know it is very selfish of me, but I need affection. I need both mental and physical intimacy. Our conversations have been both generic and bland for the past year, which believe me I can understand why. But we used to spend hours talking about our future and what we wanted. Now at best we talk about what movies we want to watch. What I am doing is in no way because of what happened to you. That event was horrible and was life-changing for you, and I never ever had a second thought about you because of it. This is all about your recovery and how you have to heal. For whatever reason, reasons you may not even know yourself, you have completely distanced yourself from me. I've tried with all of my heart to get back to you, but it is painfully apparent that I am no closer to you now than I was right after the incident. Also, to be very clear so you do not think this is about anything else. There is no one else. I am not seeing anyone. I don't have eyes for anyone, nor do I think anytime soon I will. I am not now, nor have I ever cheated on you. I hope with all of my heart for you to be fully healed soon. I want you to be happy. I hope someday you can look back on our time together with fondness and find it in your heart to forgive me. I will always love you. This breaks my heart more than you will ever know. Love, Chad. Thank you again to everybody. I know I type a boatload, but it just feels good to get this out. I have to have it to her therapist by tomorrow. Now the question is, do I have the fortitude to send it? Me 29M with my GF27F together 4 years. She was our pet and I'm thinking about leaving. Second update. I have learned several things recently. First thing is that I had no idea how many English teachers, lit majors and overall editors were actually Redditors. LOL. I had so many posts just correcting my obvious and admitted horrible spelling and grammar that I began to have a complex. In all seriousness, thank you for those of you who took the time to edit that for format, grammar and spelling. I even appreciate those of you who took the time to provide me with written documentations and reasons as to why my errors were errors. Second thing I've learned is that this is really a loving and caring community for the most part. I have been given numbers to call, emails to read and lists of things to read to help me on my journey. I deeply appreciate the very moving stories I have been told, and believe it or not, I have read every one of them, even though at last count I was close to 2,500 messages. People have offered to buy me drinks, hang out, and I even got one offer for a HND job to relieve my stress, which was both flattering and amusing all at the same time. However, the main thing that I have learned recently is to never sign your real name to an open public letter if you don't want it to somehow get back to the people in your life. It makes it a little hard to deny it was you when every single detail is the same and you use your own dumbass name. Many people wanted an update about how things went. Simply put, it didn't. In review, I had written the letter and then with the help of several Redditors had rewritten the letter with better format, and I did edit out the part that the arpist ruined her because I agreed that this was not an appropriate thing to say. In fact, I almost edited him out altogether, other than saying I wish he had gotten a longer sentence. However, I did leave in the part about being her husband. I know a lot of people wanted me to take that out, but I just felt deeply that I had to say that. I can't really explain why. Of course, my intention originally was to mail it to her their pissed office with instructions for what to say, but I knew there was zero chance that she would get it in time, so I was going to take it to her and see if I could speak with her. Notice how that was all in the past tense, as in what I was going to do? Well, I never got the chance. Wednesday night, late night in fact, I have a knock on my door. Lo and behold, it is her sister and my sister together. Her sister was holding papers in her hands and my sister walks in, and her sister walks in with her. Obviously something is up, so I ask what's wrong, and her sister hands me a printout of my posts and the replies to my previous 2 threads, and she simply asks, "Is this you?" At first I tried to deny it. I couldn't really remember everything I had written, in particular the first post, so I was kind of trying to avoid any problems if I said something I shouldn't have. But my sister just straight up got in my face and told me to stop ducking lying, which by then I was caught. I knew and she knew it. I just dropped my head. This then led to a very long conversation that lasted till the wee hours of the morning. At first her sister was very much emotional because of course she loves her sister, and was crying asking me how I could want to do this to her. Much to my surprise though, my sister stood up for me here and actually kind of ripped her sister a new shoal. She said that I had gone way beyond what most people had, and that Sarah should not 1 year later still be withholding affection from me. She had no idea that we still weren't physically as close as we once were. Like I said, I never told her. Once my sister got done talking, I'm going to call her sister Susan just so I can stop typing her sister. Susan said that in reality she knew that she was right. She begged me to not go through with my letter. She said that I had promised to give Sarah a week, which I had. She then gave a very impassioned speech about how much she can tell I still love her and how much she knows she still loves me. My sister also agreed that there was too much love present in my heart to just do this right away. She said, and it made sense at the time, "What is another week compared to what you have been through?" So long story short, I agreed to not take the letter over. Whether it was guilt, regret or love I can't say, but I agreed to it. This then led the single most embarrassing thing in my life happening. Susan gave me a very big hug and cried as they were leaving. It's been a very long time since I've had any type of close contact, and let's just say it's not a lot of fun being called a disgusting pig by your sister. All I could do was say how very sorry and how embarrassed I was. Fortunately, Susan seemed to take it in stride. She just wanted to make sure that I would talk with Sarah the next day. Even though I was a virtual zombie from lack of sleep, I went ahead and went to work. I have lots of PTO time available to me, but I didn't want to burn it all up over this in case I needed time later. I got home from work and my intention was to go straight to bed after eating dinner and maybe watching some TV. That went to hell in a hurry as I was eating my dinner when someone is knocking on my door again. This time is with Susan and Sarah. This time Sarah is holding the printout. You can tell they both had been crying, and Susan asked if they could come in. I just shook my head yes, because I was honestly a little nervous, and no matter what she has done or not done, seeing Sarah emotional always upsets me, and she physically looked horrible. I mean as bad as she did after the RP. They sat on the couch and Sarah already has tears streaming down her face. We all kind of just sat there for what seemed like an eternity looking at each other. I wasn't going to speak first. I had no idea what to say or do, so I just sat there. Eventually I broke though and asked Sarah if she wanted some water or something to drink. She actually said yes, so I got up and went to the kitchen to get her a glass of ice water, and when I turned around she was standing right behind me. All she said to me was, "Are you really going to leave me?" I couldn't answer. I just looked into her eyes and felt broken and ashamed. We went and sat down, but this time she sat next to me. She started to read my first post to me but could not make it through it. Susan jumps in at this point and says they had spent the day talking and they had gone over the post and most of the replies, and said that Sarah was very sorry for how she treated me. She said that they have spoken to their parents and everybody agrees that the way I was treated was not fair. Seeing it in writing really struck a nerve with all of them, because they could see how hurt I was, and that even though I could have blamed all of them, that I didn't. Sarah is shaking her head yes the entire time. Sarah then managed to talk and just laid out how she obviously did not give me enough consideration, and that she now sees that what she did was horrible to me when I have been nothing but compassionate and loving towards her. She begged me for another chance. She said that sometimes in life you need a kick in the ass to get moving, and she said me wanting to break up with her was her wake-up call. She can't and won't take me for granted, and said she had a year's worth of apologizing to do to me. Susan actually very calmly said that they had spoken at length in the afternoon about her infidelity and then not even touching me. Sarah then replied that she had no real excuses. She knows that what she did was horrible and that she had no right to ask me for forgiveness, but was going to anyway. She also said that she is making it the top priority of her life that she talk with her therapist to get past any physical limitations she has with me. This went on for a long time BTW. I could give you a lot more of what was said, but this is already a wall of text as it is. The one thing though that I want to say is that while she was talking to me, she was holding my hand. She reached out and took it. Now I realize that she read my posts, and I made a big deal about that in my posts, but whether she did it because she read it or just did it on her own, she used to do that all the time. I won't deny that it felt really good. They ended up staying the night. No, before you get any crazy PRN movie ideas, nothing happened between any of us. Susan slept on the futon and Sarah on the couch, and I actually went to my bed. I called in early Thursday morning to work before I went to bed, as I knew that I would not be able to function on so little sleep. I get awoken around 10 by Sarah sitting next to me in the bed, rubbing her hands on my arm to wake me up. She said that they were getting ready to leave because she had moved up her therapy session to 11, and she didn't want to leave without her telling me how much she loved me and to let me know she was coming right back after the session. She leaned over and kissed me. It wasn't a long passionate kiss, in fact it was just kind of a quick kiss, but right on the lips. This was a mistake, I'm sure, because that broke my resolve right there. Up until that point I was still holding on to the thought that this was all just words, and that it took me threatening to leave her to get her to even pay attention to me. 1 p.m. I got from a RP survivor kept going over in my head that if she was able to come around because of the threat of me leaving, then this was not all due to her emotional trauma, because if it was due to that, then no threat of me leaving was going to change this. But between my sister, Her sister and her every wall that I was building to protect myself was crumbling, and that kiss pretty much was the wrecking ball that tore them all down. I went back to sleep, and around 1 she shows back up at my place carrying lunch. Susan was not in tow, so it was just going to be the two of us. We ended up spending the afternoon together. We ended up spending the weekend together. Yes, you can infer from that what occurred between us. I'll just say that I was probably more scared about it than she was. I was worried about triggering anything or saying or doing anything that would upset her. She, on the other hand, was very loving and emotional about it. She cried afterwards for a good long while, which caused me to freak, but she said it was a combination of joy and regret. That she had forgotten how love felt, and it just kind of overwhelmed her. We laid there for hours. She had the recommendation from her therapist for a couples counselor who we are going to start seeing next week. I know this isn't what a lot of people wanted to read, and all I can say is that I'm sorry to disappoint you, and yes, I am prepared for the plethora of name calling from some people, but at the end of the day I have to worry about myself and my happiness here. For the first time in over a year I have been happy for 4 days. I know that this isn't the end, that we are still going to have hurdles to overcome. I honestly believe that this was a wake-up call for her. If not, then why go through all of the emotional drama and turmoil? Wouldn't she just let it go? Bottom line is I love her. I have always loved her, and all I wanted was for her to show me she loved me as well. This past weekend was a really bonding experience for me and for her as well. I think we can build something new together. Thank you, Reddit. I felt the love from you guys as well. I am ultimately a very lucky man. Update. Well, apparently the world's largest sea called checking in. Yeah, it's me. The BTCH, F got, cuckold, and several other colorful names that many of you have PM'd me since my last update in our relationships. I guess somehow my story resonated with you guys, as I have been sent this link about 190 times. Look, I had no idea what the hell the red pill is or was, but honestly some of the vile stuff spewed my way since my post from some of you is unbelievable. I'm fair game. I get it. I put the post out there and I have thick enough skin to not get offended by ideas or words. Hell, some of the stuff you guys have said privately to me and a few that made to the main relationship thread made sense to me, and I get why some of you guys were upset. But telling me that you hope my GF is our pet again while I have to watch is not okay. Now, those people may or may not have been members of this community, but they sure as hell sent me the links. Like I said, call me whatever you want, but seriously, is advocating the RP of a woman what you guys stand for? I sure as hell hope not. Reading some of the articles on the sidebar of your main page has provided me some decent info. I can't say I agree with everything, but I certainly think I could benefit from looking at things from a different point of view. So here is the question part of my post for you. How do I take back control of my part in her life? I will freely admit that I ducked up big time when this all went down. I felt helpless and hopeless, and all I wanted to do was help her and do what it was everybody was telling me to do. It was a mistake. I should have been more assertive and taken a firm lead in helping her through this. I abdicated my spot as the man in her life, even though I thought I was doing the right thing by her. Please spare me the dump the bitch or lose the hoe posts. This is my choice, and I'm right now choosing to take back what was my place in her life. If it blows up in my face, then it's on me. I am going into this with my eyes wide open. P.S. Also, since I know that one of the things that sticks in everyone's craw is the cheating, believe me, I hate it as well. I can say this. There is a new development on that front. I am going with her again to her therapist on Friday for more info. I'll just say it now. If it was ongoing or more than one, I'm out. No questions asked. I don't give two s, it's what either sister has to say about it. Bash away. Edit. Guys, I have been reading and watching videos for hours now. I would like to express to you Lala gratitude for directing me to his article about defeating the enemy mindset. I shared with him why that really hit me hard, and this was well before she was attacked. As to hiding the fact that I was here because they will know it due to my history, I don't really care. From what I've read and seen, the reality is that the vast majority of what this is about is self-improvement. Sure, there is some women are the enemy vibes I get, but I honestly think at the core this is about being a better man. I've really seen some grievous errors I've made in the aftermath of this. I've just got some thinking I need to do. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1. Well, good luck. But Sarah, if you are reading this, I have no respect for you as a person. At all. I'm also a survivor of the same crime you experienced. I know everyone heals differently and no two are the same. But come on. You took advantage of this guy for over a year. I don't care what kind of trauma you went through, nothing justifies having complete disregard for a devoted partner for a year. And you cheated on him, while simultaneously standing him up. You should be so ashamed of yourself. You don't ever get to use your trauma as an excuse to actively hurt someone you love. Ever. You decide how you will let this affect you from here on out. You could have decided months ago to not let this take over your life, but you didn't. You allowed yourself to be coddled for months on end. You are a child at best. How long were you planning on leading him on while you went out and took back your time morality? The fact that you manipulatively asked Op if he was really going to leave you after everything you did to him, shows that you still are refusing to take responsibility. If you had any respect for him or yourself, you would have manned up and walked away as soon as you realized you needed to have time with other people. I'm sorry, but you are pathetic if you keep using this incident as an excuse. Please seek out a different therapist since the one you have been working with hasn't helped you move forward at all in the last year. That is the definition of not working. How dare you continue to still do this to the person who loved you so much? You don't deserve Op. You already left him. Let him go so he can find someone as loyal as he has been. Edit. What are you going to do if something traumatic happens to you if you have kids, since Op says he would have them with you in the future? If something happens to Op when your family isn't around to baby you, will you just curl up and die and neglect your kids? Of course, as soon as someone tries to take them away, all of your involuntary PTSD triggers preventing you from being a functional person will magically no longer be a thing. Shame on you. You have no business being in an adult relationship until you learn to be an adult, not a little girl. No one can break you unless you let them. Edit 2 to her sister. If you're reading this, I believe Sarah's family and therapist were absolutely detrimental and irresponsible. Since I never had the vindication of convicting my attacker, part of my healing was to become a certified volunteer RP advocate, the people who meet the victims at the hospital and support them through the RP kit, exam, preventative STD treatment, police reports, and court appearances. The first thing they teach us in training is that if we encounter a victim who is hysterically upset, we should never swoop in and coddle them. Be warm and supportive, but it is vitally important that they pick themselves up off the ground. Support, but don't be a crutch. They have to find it in themselves to stand up and decide to move forward. That's the first step to taking back control. PSA, same is true for victims of domestic abuse. It doesn't sound like she ever got this. Her family immediately did this for her and put her in front of a therapist who didn't show any interest in helping Sarah develop the tools she needed to help herself. Her sister and parents should be ashamed of themselves for enabling this for so long. That being said, she never knew how Op felt because she never ducking asked. Nor was he allowed to talk to her about it. She got too used to being the broken victim and not having to take any responsibility for herself. After a year, it's pathetic and indicative of someone who doesn't want to get better. Several months later, she was still behaving like some girls' worst-case scenarios act in the first 24 hours. In all the time I volunteered, I never saw someone that bad off even a week later. 100% fine? No, usually not. But they are able to ducking speak for themselves. Sorry, but that's on her, not the RP. Redditor 2, look, no one knows this situation better than you. Certainly not a bunch of random people on the internet. Having said that, we can look at the facts you presented in a completely objective way that you or anyone else in your shoes would be unable to. Here are some points to be made from your posts. 1. No one from Sarah's family thought it was important to keep you up to date on a regular basis on her progress from your first message. The minute they found out that you could be leaving, they approached you and took up hours and hours of your time. Even if it meant cutting into your sleep for work. This is a consistent theme in your posts. Who the hell is looking out for you? You've been asked to make every sacrifice, understand every indiscretion, and suppress every feeling you have. 2. Your sister and Susan asked you to give it a week before making any decision. 24 hours later, Sarah is at your door asking you not to leave and to give her a second chance. This seems far too convenient. Once they confirmed it was in fact you, and this includes your sister, they bombarded you with a guilt trip, and then Sarah herself came over to do a complete 180. 3. Sarah didn't want to see you for months, didn't want to hear you say I love you, and couldn't even kiss you, all due to her recovery. Within 24 hours of confirming your post on Reddit, she's sleeping with you. I really hope you used protection. 4. Again, Sarah wanted no contact with you. Couldn't touch you, couldn't kiss you. This was all part of her recovery. Yet she had no issue being with another guy. I feel like I need to be implicit with this. Your girlfriend, who had no interest in holding your hand, had no issue being naked with another guy, kissing him or having him inside of her. Yet she pulled back on a kiss from you. Couldn't hear you say that you loved her. On some level, she clearly had some issue with you specifically. So much so, she didn't have any interest in even seeing you for long periods. Whatever the issue was, it subsided the minute she found out you were considering leaving. I don't want to sound insensitive because Sarah was brutally our pet, and how does one ever really recover from that? But one of the top comments from your first post I thought was spot on. The girl you knew is gone. And this Sarah didn't care about you as anything more than a casual friend. She replaced you on a physical intimacy level. She didn't want to have anything more than occasional meetings with shallow conversations with you. She told you about her indiscretion with her therapist, which I thought was so unfair. It was, in my view, a way to control your reaction so that you couldn't let out all your emotions in front of a stranger. The minute you got really angry, you were asked to leave and then felt compelled to apologize for your reaction to her cheating on you. How is any of this fair to you? It really seems that these people don't care about you, only what you can do to make someone else's, in this case Sarah and her family, life easier, better, less painful. How does it make any sense that these people who supposedly care about you only saw how unfair their actions were once they saw it on paper? You took the high road and didn't blame them, which is a reflection on your character. But what do their actions say about theirs? I hope I'm completely wrong, and maybe a bunch of downvotes will tell you that my view is clearly an anomaly and this is a true love story. I really hope that happens. If you think anything I've said is correct, just know you don't have to settle. And more importantly, there is no future holding on to the past, man. Redditor 3, well, best wishes op. I hope things work out for you guys if that's what you really want. Take things slowly, and don't rush to get married or anything. If she cheats on you again, dump her. If she starts treating crappy and or cold again, dump her. Also, do not get couples therapy with her therapist. Find a new therapist neither of you have seen. Redditor follow up. This guy is a saint in the worst possible way. This whole update is so very sad. This guy just got bullied and guilted back into a relationship with someone who treated him as subhuman for a whole year. I genuinely think he's unable to consider his own happiness as a priority. I doubt it's even in the top 5. Remember to check out my new channels. Link in the description. Have a nice day.
Inventado un nuevo tipo de contenido llamado risoterapia.
Y el cabrón de...
Sus streamings son como
Hombre, desde Málaga, tío, andaluz, ahí.
Son la polla.
¿De qué te ríes, Dani?
Y esto no es spam, esto es información